Hello, I'm Donald Leggett, and welcome to the latest London South East CEO interview. I'm joined again by Brad George, CEO at Orosur Mining, the London-listed South American metals explorer. In addition to the flagship Anza Gold project in Colombia, which OMI has a 25% free carry-in, Orosur now has a tin JV in Brazil and has just added a gold JV in Argentina. Welcome, Brad. It's always a pleasure to see you. I understand you've been on your travels. You've been to South America.
Yeah, it's been a nice change, and it must be almost 2 years of being locked up. It was nice to get away. It was, albeit a bit of a whirlwind tour, and the jet lag's a bit annoying. But yeah, it's finally nice to be back out in the bush again. And COVID-free, touch wood.
Oh, touch wood, and fantastic to have that ability to actually see your projects on the ground.
And meet the staff. I mean, it's a very unusual position to run the company for 18 months or more and never having met the staff, never having met the JV partners, never having been to the project. So to at least now be able to speak with some credibility is it's a nice change.
Okay, and which rolls us neatly into your first project, which is a gold JV in Argentina. Now, this came as a surprise to me. Have you been working on this deal with Desadio Dorado for some time?
Well, it's meant to be a surprise because we don't obviously involve the market in the negotiations, but what you see there is the end result of lots of frog kissing. We'd been told by Agnico beginning of last year, I guess, that they intended to take over control of Anza, but they didn't quite know when. They needed COVID to abate and they needed a few things to happen. So we knew it was coming, didn't know when, and that instigated, I guess, our enthusiasm to begin to look for new projects. And that we looked at all of South America, we looked at the geography, the geology, the political risk, the entry costs and various things. And Argentina really ticked a lot of boxes for us in terms of all of those criteria, and happened to be also the country where our two geologists live. So that made our entry cost a lot lower. So over most of last year, we're looking at projects, talking to owners, talking to promoters, be they private or public. And that led us to, well, hopefully several projects, but that one was the one that stood out in terms of being very prospective and very, very well located, good guys, and a very good entry cost. So it was a long, drawn-out process, as these things always are. But yes, it was nice to get it done, albeit it took 6 months. We do hope to be on the ground there very soon.
Yeah, you're very good at keeping secrets, which is a good thing. Let me ask you about, you said prospectivity is one of the big things. It's very close to the Anglo Gold Tier 1 project, 45 kilometres. Are the geologies broadly connected? Is there a connection?
Look, I won't say it's on strike. They have very similar geology in the sense of it's the same rocks, the same age, the same northwest structures. We're seeing all the same sorts of stuff that we see at Serra Vanguardia and other areas around there. So it has all the right stuff going on. So the proximity is important in the sense that, yes, we're in the same part of what is a very large mineral province. The entire massif is 65,000 square kilometres, but we're obviously close to one of the major deposits, which is good. But it's also logistically important, and this is one of our criteria, is that we always wanted projects that were close to existing mines. Now, our ambition and our goal is to find a big project, but it's always nice to know that if you don't find a big project, if you find a smaller project, that there's an existing mine within trucking distance that you can operate with. So it's always nice to have plan B, which was, again, we draw a radius and we're within that radius, and that gives us options going forward.
Yeah, that sounds very sensible, Brad. The terms of the deal are interesting. You own 100% of Desadio, or will own 100% of Desadio, and for that you will initially pay $1 million to be paid over 3 years. That's the initial tranche. Yeah. Why did you structure it like that?
Well, there's two sides to that. First of all, the deals we're doing, we have some criteria of having very low or preferably zero entry cost. So in this case, we've paid nothing up front. And a new project in a new country, which is a bit earlier stage, we want to have time to get a feel for the place. You need time to get your feet on the ground, understand the rocks, get commercially running in the country. So we didn't want to be hamstrung by having to spend a lot of money fast. So we want to have the first year, 18 months, kind of relaxed, just buy us time to get in, learn the ropes. So very low entry cost and very low burn rate the first 18 months is very important. And also it protects our balance sheet. We don't want to blow what cash we've got. We want to just get time to generate some value. The 100% thing, that is unusual. We didn't expect that. We pushed for it, but to get it was surprising. Most JVs, as you would know, sort of a 70-30 kind of number is about par for the course.
The other one is 75-25, for example.
Yeah, but that is normally the sort of the rough ballpark. And obviously Anza is 75-25. But to get to 100%, we pushed hard for that, and we had to give a few things away. The NSR being one example. But again, that gives us options because it's an early stage project in the right address. It's a very large piece of ground. And depending on what we find, having the ability to go to 100% again gives us the option to, if we want to at some point, bring in a big partner. If we only had 70%, then obviously doing another JV on the back of the JV dilutes you somewhat further down the line. So having 100% gives us a very nice thing to play with if we find something that might be interesting to a major company. So again, it's just giving us options.
Another good answer, Brad. That's it all makes perfect sense. Let's turn to tin in Brazil, the tin JV in Brazil. Was that the first time you've actually been to see Ariquemes? Let me try and pronounce that properly. And what were
I think it's Ariquemes, but my Portuguese is rusty.
Ariquemes, and what were your impressions?
Very positive. I didn't quite know what to expect. I hadn't been out to that part of Brazil before, and I was sort of thinking Wild West Amazon, which it was some decades ago. 20 years ago, it was just forest. But the degree to which it's now very developed, it's almost entirely cleared, which you may view as a bad thing, but it's happened. So agriculturally, it's very advanced. The town, Ariquemes, is 100,000 people. It's very developed, and it works really well. Plentiful power, water, fuel, everything you need to build a mine is there. So logistically, it's outstanding, which is encouraging. There's no need to reinvent the wheel of building towns. But what's equally encouraging is that the mining is quite rudimentary in the sense that it's mostly artisanal or local cooperatives mining the alluvials. So that to me is quite encouraging. We know there's a primary source, and we can see these, and we know from other parts of the world what they're likely to look like. But the local groups are by and large not looking for that. So it's a very advanced, developed place, but the mining side is quite rudimentary. So that to me suggests that it's largely untouched, which is really the great appeal of us going to an area with such a large land package. So it was only a couple of days there, so I'm not an expert, but I came away very impressed with just everything we need is there. And that's very important when you're thinking about, well, what do you need to find to be economic? And if you're in the middle of the desert, then obviously that's a bigger hurdle because you need to build infrastructure. Everything's there, including the smelters. So everything is in place to allow mining to go ahead in a very mining-friendly place quite easily.
And how are you getting on with the new corporate structure in Canada? The bit behind the scenes, but nonetheless vitally important.
That's just ticking boxes. There have been some changes, I guess, and I don't want to bore you with the details, but traditionally you might look at putting a subsidiary in a tax haven, the BVI, Caymans, what have you. That's becoming less popular now. Most countries in the world frown upon such things, and the advantages that you might have gained from tax havens no longer really accrue. So we had to examine where we put our company, and ultimately Canada became the obvious place because we're already in Canada. But then which Canadian province, because each province has different tax rates. That's largely done now, because that's quite a fast process once we decided where to go. And then now it's taking that company into Brazil and into Argentina. And that will take some weeks to get.
Which Canadian province did you settle on?
We're going with Ontario. It's a slightly, even though they've got a few trucks parked there at the moment. It's one of the lower taxed provinces. They're all roughly similar, but Ontario is the lower tax one. So and it gives you a certain credibility and things to do down the line. But now it's a question of having that foreign company registered in Brazil and also Argentina, and that takes a few weeks. So we're probably going to be probably 6 weeks away from being able to tick the box and be able to legally work. So it's all in train, but these things really can't be rushed.
Okay, which takes us neatly to the Anza. which is the big boy in your portfolio. It's 25% free carry. That brings you financial stability. It allows all this lovely exploration to happen. Let me ask you about Agnico Newmont. They're running the operations now. So what do you know about their intentions around the next phase of development? That is a big question.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'd say is that they don't give a lot away. Big companies are not by nature as communicative as small companies. Having said that, I think it helps to understand where we are in the joint venture. So we are in the middle of the fourth year, or middle of the final year of the first phase, which ends in September the 6th. The last 4 years, or last 3 years, we've simply rolled from year to year. But we're coming to a point now where moving into phase 2 requires a very substantial new agreement to be written. We've now gone from the option phase and we're moving into the formal joint venture phase. So there's going to be the next few months of just negotiating exactly what that new structure looks like. And I think, the sense I get, and just knowing big companies, is they want to begin that process quite quickly. One of the concerns that they had is that the JV year doesn't match their financial year, which is not my problem, but these big companies like to have a certain level of certainty going forward. So they've made it quite clear that they would like to now begin that negotiation process for phase 2 so that they can begin to lock in their budget process for the next 4 years, which is $20 million, which is not an insignificant amount of money. So we're at the point now that they're very happy. They see this as a major project. Obviously, Agnico is, I think, just about done or have approved their merger with Kirkland Lake. So they've gone from being a big company to a really big company, which to them has made exploration even more important than it was. So Anza has gone from being important to pretty key to these guys, because their need to find ore is now even more than it previously was. So
they need to keep feeding the beast.
They're going to run harder to stand still. So they see this as a very important project, which means they want to begin to formalise that JV process over the next couple of months. So they don't say so tacitly, but you can sense a certain level of excitement, as much as geologists can get excited. So they do like it. They're very keen. There's 150 people on staff now. They're really hitting it very hard. And they've made it quite clear that they want to spend money as quickly as they can, but that needs this process now of getting that phase 2 locked in. So that's going to be what we'll be doing, I think, over the next couple of months.
In short, why Brazil? Why Argentina? Why is that a good thing for Orosur Mining and the share price?
We want to balance. We want to have more news flow. We want to balance the portfolio, having an advanced project, earlier stage project where we can add value quickly, that we own 100% and we're in control of our destiny. And also, this is not important, but we want to reduce the perception of being in just the one country. So, South America is a very nice place to work, but there are issues, and having a number of countries, a number of eggs in baskets gives us a broader risk profile. So it's news flow, it's exposure to projects, it's diversifying our risk in terms of geography and commodity, and just giving us more control over our own destiny rather than being subject to a big company. Okay,
talking of news flow, investors on the boards have said that you've been quiet for a while. Will you have more to say now that the deals are done and exploration is about to commence?
We obviously will on our projects, and exploration will begin ASAP. So that will be news flow. The exploration news flow from Anza will pick up. There was a period of being rather quiet during the handover. It was a big job, lots of people, everything stopped. So that by necessity meant we couldn't, there was no news to talk about. That's recommencing now. There's 100 people on staff. We have drill rigs running. The assays are beginning to flow through now. So I expect that that's going to be a far more regular news flow coming from that project, and at least one or two more. So the answer is yes. I can't give exact detail. That's to be determined. But yes, the news flow is now going to be pushing forward a lot faster than it has in the past.
Did I hear you say one or two more deals? Do you have any more deals in negotiation at the moment, Brad? Given that you hid the last one for 6 months.
I'm sure you'll be the last to know. Look, we are looking.
The last to know.
We'll tell you what happened. We have been talking to a few other companies and a few other projects. They're not there yet, so I'm not going to give any guarantees they're going to get there. We are but we are applying the same criteria of very low cost. We're very cognizant of our balance sheet. And this is a question we always get asked, are you going to raise money? And the answer at this stage is we have no plans to do so this year. Now, that might change, but we would like to stick to that ethos of just giving it a year to see how things pan out. So we are looking at projects, and if we can find projects that fit in with our criteria, good projects, right geology, right location, right entry price, then we may do a deal. But deals take time. I mean, there is a negotiation process that can at times get, quite excitable. So watch this space.
Brad, that was fantastic. There's lots to think about in there. Thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate it. If you're an Orosur investor, do remember to check out the OMI chat board on the London South East website. Please do follow us on Twitter. That's @London South East. And if you like this interview, then do Google London South East YouTube channel. You'll find our page there, our YouTube page. Do subscribe. You'll get some really fantastic interviews just like this one, full of all the things that you want to know and hear about more. Subscribe to receive our video content. Thank you very much for watching, and do stay safe.